Hey everybody, how's it going? Hopefully everybody's okay today. So, I wanted to share this with you guys. This is what we're going to be doing for today. And maybe there you go. So, I wanted you guys to analyze and evaluate this graph, and hopefully you've been reading the article on A Tale of Two Indias. And basically, we're going to be doing a little bit of money math, okay, and try to figure out um, this graph. And it has 10 questions on it. So, actually, 7 questions. So, the video is going to pause about 7 times so you can answer each question. But I wanted to go over the reading first and then look at the graph. And then you guys get to answer the question. All right. So, please read along with me. I'm going to start on this paragraph right here where it says progress and poverty. India's economy began booming a quarter century ago. So that's 25 years ago. India's economy began booming a quarter century ago when the nation opened its doors to foreign investment and adopted market reforms. Today, India has the seventh largest gross domestic product in the world. Gross domestic product, or GDP, is the market value of the goods and services produced in a nation in a given year, including consumer spending, business spending, and net exports. The value of all exports minus the value of all imports. It's a widely accepted measure of a nation's economic output, but it is not the whole economic picture. For example, India still struggles with poverty rates comparable to those in nations with much lower GDPs. These graphs show both sides of the story. So right now I'm reading this part right here. Okay, read along with me. The line graph shows India's GDP over time. The bar graph shows how the extreme poverty rate in India compares with rates in selected other countries. The extreme poverty rate is the percentage of people living on less than $1.90 a day. So let that sink in. People who are extremely poor in India, it says that they're living on $1.90 a day. So, what can you buy with $1.90, right? So let's look at this graph right here where it says India's gross domestic product. And let's see if I can blow up the screen a little bit so we can look at it. Let's see if I can move it this way. All right. So I got to shrink it a little bit. Okay, so it says India's gross domestic product, or GDP, from 1966 to 2016. So that was like 4 years ago. So it says that down here in 1966, their GDP was like below, that looks like it's even below $50. And then it just keeps going up, 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 up. And then if you can see, there was a huge jump from 2001 to about 2000 and past 2006. So there was a big jump. And in 2001, what was it? Like between 400 and 600, but less than 500. So do you guys see what I'm doing right here? Like I'm looking at this side of the graph, which is in billions of US dollars. So this is in the billions, all right? So when we're looking at it, it's not just like $50, it's actually 50 billion. So in 1966, it was 50 billion. And if we pick 1996, because it's hidden right here on the line, in 1966, India's GDP was 400 billion. And so as of 2016, their GDP was 2.3 billion. All right. And then at the bottom graph, it shows the extreme poverty in selected countries. So here are 5 countries that they say are the percentage of people living on less than $1.90 a day. So for those of you who don't know, Ethiopia is a country in Africa. So Ethiopia is kind of like on the eastern side. It's pretty close to Egypt. So in Ethiopia, the poverty rate it's like between 30 and 35% who are living on $1.90 a day. But what about India? So if you look at India, the poverty rate of India is like a little over 20%. And then they put Indonesia, Mexico, and China. Now, I just want to make a note that out of all of these countries that they mentioned, none of them are Western countries. So Western means like none of them are like in Europe, in Canada, or in North America. All right. So Ethiopia is in Africa, India is in Asia, Indonesia is in Asia, Mexico is in Latin America, and China is in Asia. So, I'm surprised to actually even see China here, but given the case that there's so many people in China, I guess it makes sense. All right, so let's go to the first question. Number 1, India's GDP first hit the 1 trillion mark in about, is it A, 1995? Is it B, 2001? Is it C, 2007? Or is it D, 2006? So let's look back up at the graph. So what is the answer? The second question is, from 2011 to 2016, India's GDP rose by about how much? So is it A, 160 billion? Is it B, 400 billion? Is it C, 720 billion? Or is it D, 1.8 trillion? So you have to do some subtraction, right? So you have to subtract from 2001, from 2016, from 2001. So how much did it grow? What was the difference in growth? That's for number 2. All right, let's go to number 3. In 2016, the US's GDP was about 18 trillion. India's GDP for that year, was it about the same? Was it nearly double? Was it almost 3 times? Or was it almost 8 times? So let's look back up. What year was it? In 2016, the US GDP was in the trillions, but what was India's GDP in 2016? And then for number 4. About what percentage of people in India live on less than $1.90 a day? Is it 5%, 16%, 21%, or 28%? And this is this graph right here. All right. About what percentage of Indians live on less than $1.90 a day? And then for number 5, India's GDP is double the size of Mexico's. So that's India's GDP is double the size of Mexico's. Its extreme poverty rate is about blank percentage points higher. So this is the poverty rate of India, right? And this is the poverty rate of Mexico. And their GDP is double the size of Mexico. But their poverty rate, if you compare India's poverty rate versus Mexico's poverty rate, what is asking you what percentage point is it higher? Is it A, 18%? Is it B, 11%? Is it C, 7%? Or is it D, 3%? All right. And then for number 6 and number 7, I'm also going to type out these questions, and then I need you guys to answer the questions. All right. So 6, how might a nation experience great economic growth but still struggle with issues like poverty? What details in the Upfront magazine article about India can explain this? And then number 7, a nation's GDP is sometimes divided by the population of that nation and expressed as per capita or per person or figure. Why might it be helpful to know a nation's per capita GDP? And it would be interesting. I'm going to add, if you can research what is the United States GDP as it in 2016, not right now, because we're dealing with this global pandemic, and our GDP is not even in equation right now. But I want you to go back in 2016 and look at what was the United States GDP. All right, you guys.